and welcome to my reading strategies workshop. Let me show you. I am super happy to be here. If you don't know who I am a teacher, and my name is Andrea Quijas. And as you know, this is hosted in my well-being channel. This is the workshop I created for you. And you're going to tell me why does this has to do with well-being and why? Let me explain a little bit. So, this is the reading strategies workshop that I created for mostly my students because I believe that reading strategies, particularly in Spanish, were not taught, at least in my generation, the way that I learned them when I became an English teacher. And I do find that there are many, many, many amazing ways of learning a new language, if that's what you're wanting to do, like my students, but also if you want to increment your cognition. And this is why this applies to well-being. So let me tell you that once upon a time, there used to be the reading comprehension type of activities in which you used to read one big, maybe like one page. It could actually be even 3 pages of a story, an article. It was a piece of reading. And from that reading, you needed to extract information. That was the old school reading information. So they asked you for main idea, they asked you for details, they asked you for what are you inferring from this, what is the author's point of view, and that's what you used to do, and that's how we used to learn it. But you needed to have the ability of understanding that. In Mexico, particularly during the 90s, where I was going to school, we used to have like mostly maybe, and this is not something like super good, but it was nice. Mostly history teachers used to give you your book, and they used to tell you highlight the main ideas. And that was a class. The teacher was just there, and everyone individually on their books, they used to read everything, and you used to highlight the main ideas. And then after a certain time passed, the teacher said, now make a summary with those main ideas. And that was the class, no? Like I said, it was not the best class, but it was an example of how we used to treasure reading comprehension before. When I became a regular, like a teacher, a regular, well, a special teacher, when I became a teacher, my first things that I taught were in English. And I took the TKT, which is the Teacher Knowledge Test, and I took a course from the Cambridge methodology on how to be a teacher. And that's where they taught me the reading strategies. So I know that right now, exams today, 2026, I don't know when you're going to see this video, but 2026, if you're going to have a reading question, mostly it's like a big paragraph. Sometimes it has 6 complete and complex sentences. Sometimes it has 10, if we are lucky. And from that paragraph, they are just ask you one question, maybe two, and they're not about the interpretation of the text. They're mostly very obvious to your face. They're like, for example, in line number 7, what does in fear is talking about? And they have multiple choices. Or for example, they are just very into your face type of questioning, which is avoiding the thought, the critical thinking, and the strategic thinking that are really important for future generations and for future complex processes. Now, some of my students are teachers and they teach in different levels. Some of my students are graduates or they are doing a college degree right now. Maybe I will have different students later, but that's the majority of my students. And you're going to tell me, well, Jess, what's the big deal? I mean, we understand that the reading as we see it has changed so far. But what is the problem? The problem is, I don't know if you have noticed, but there has been new studies that showed that Generation Z is dumber than other generations, like the millennial generation. I am not saying everyone, but that's what the study said. And they are talking about dumbness in the sense of reading comprehension and these type of processes. I don't think that they're dumber. I think that they have different skills and they have not been learning the reading strategies. Why? Because we have stopped teaching them. And new generations are going to come by with different type of skills. And if you really ask me, how do you feel about IQ testings? I have always said, if you know me in Spanish, you know that from my job, I have always said that the IQ way we measure things was created thinking on soldiers on how they could be more complacent to follow orders. Therefore, I do not believe that 2026 that would be the best way to evaluate someone's intelligence. Like there has been lots of new theories, like the multiple intelligences theories or the soft skills new abilities that we have. So I believe that we have become a complex set of humans in which those early tools, which were very valuable at the moment, are not the best right now. So take with a little grain of salt if they are saying that they have lower IQs. But what I do know is that we have lost little by little the ability of having complex thoughts or understanding. Have you ever seen movies recently? There has been very like lots of testimonials from different actresses and actors. The latest I saw from Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, they had this uh not super fond of context movie, like it's a heist and they are like all the time, so it's not like very in-depth type of content, but they were talking about how annoying is for them to underline the what is going on in the movie because people are not paying attention anymore because they know that people tend to scroll while they are watching a movie. Therefore they need to dumb down the plot or to repeat it constantly because if I am doing some online shopping, I still need to know what's going on, why someone shoot that person. And so we know that these new skills and the new way of behavior as a society has impacted in the way we learn. That's why I believe that for our well being, reading strategies is the best way to go. And I believe that this is something that we all should revisit, which is the hardest skill. Because if you are here for the first time, because maybe, for example, you have trouble with some with your grades and they are telling you try to find a better way to study, like learning methodologies, and that's how you came about my video. I'm so happy that you're here. And this is very nice because you're going to find these strategies that I did not create. I am just going to give you the explanation on how I've been using them and I've been teaching them to my students and how I believe that they could be very helpful for you. So, but if you are here because you are my student and I told you we need to work on reading strategies, I know that it's going to be a little bit harder for you because you're like, but I know how to read. Yes, you can like see a text, decode it, and maybe understand it, but let's try to do this step by step. It's a methodology, so methodologies have an order, and there's a reason for that. So if you come here from that spectrum, I would tell you please try to have an open mind, and maybe you are going to learn something new. Maybe you're going to say, no, what I'm doing is awesome and I'm the best, which great job. I'm so happy for you. Let's keep everyone sharing how to create more thoughtful persons. That would be awesome. So yes, maybe I am not going to give you like the secret treasure of wisdom, but I believe that these are really, really amazing strategies that you could use if you want to improve your learning skills, if you're having lower notes, or if you have, like, for example, an deficit attention disorder, or you are sometimes it's not a disorder. For example, there's something that it's called cognitive dissonance, in which you emotionally do not connect with what the subject that you are having, And this could happen in college, this could happen in whatever moment you do not like the teacher, you do not like the topic, whatever reason. So your emotions are hindering your ability to understand the text. So when you're using these strategies, it's going to be easier to avoid that. And this has happened to multiple people. For example, I I am a very good student, but I had so many problems when I was in psychology school with psychopharmacology. Why? Because I do not take regular medicine like we know it. I mean, I know paracetamol and ibuprofen and I know aspirin, right? But that's it. Because regularly, I love Mexican traditional healing. I love herbs. I know that if my tummy hurts, maybe a chamomile tea is going to make me feel better. Maybe if I'm on my period, drinking hibiscus tea is going to make me feel better. I love those things and I love about conscious eating and whatnot. So for me, that's the way that I used to heal. And this psychopharmacology with all the things, it was hard for me. So in that case, when I needed to learn something, using these reading strategies was awesome because I had to stop my emotional um blockage and just focus on what I had to do. And that was a great way for me to pass the subject. So I am hoping that you really enjoy this and that this could be very helpful and beneficial for you. So let's go. Like I said, this presentation, I made it with all my love. So let's check it out. Okay, reading strategies. How can we define a reading strategy? It's the reading strategies transform passive reading into active, efficient, and engaging process, allowing learners to expand vocabulary, grasp complex grammar, and understand cultural context. Providing consistent, comprehensible input, these strategies help build fluency, boost confidence, and improve overall comprehension. Now, I have to tell you something. I am dyslexic. Yay! And these reading strategies were really helpful for me because my particular problem was I needed to follow with my finger because sometimes letter moves. And right now I am having a visual issue. So reading strategies are something that will always help me to have a better comprehension of a text. That's number one. If you're learning a new language or you are exercising that foreign language, reading comprehension are really going to help you boost your vocabulary and understand the structure of how certain phrases are created. So it's also very amazing for everyone, right? So yes. Now, let me tell you how does reading work. So when you first see the letters, that could be passive decoding. I understand that the P is P and the double S and the V and the so I understand each of these letters and I understand passive decoding. So I see them, I can pronounce them, and I kind of understand. So passive means something that it's not like in motion, that could be static. And decoding, because I know some grammars, I know the D, it's something that it's in against something. So I understand code and the ing. So you know you can see this process happens super fast in your mind. So I understand decoding as a word and the context of it. So it's like something, it's a verb because it's ing, so it's something that is happening. But how could something that is happening be passive? So I understand that the way that I see is I see a code and I understand the code in a passive way. So I am not going any further with this information. I just read that. It's like reading your name. Yes, Andrea, Juancho, Chono, John, uh, Jennifer, Lula, whatever. Okay. So I know, but that's not giving me anything from that. That's when active understanding should come next. So I know the words, I know what they're doing, but then I need to understand what's the sense that they're happening, that what's going on with those words. Why were they there, right? So active understanding could be connecting. Okay, so we're talking about reading, we're talking about reading. For example, there's I always teach my students that there's a wheel of languages in which we have passive language, which is reading and listening, because you don't have to create a language. Active language skills are something in which you create, which is the speaking and writing. You have to come up with information and do it. So in this context, reading has lots to be with passive decoding, with passiveness of the language, and passive decoding is just there. So I am creating extra connections from them. And then comprehending and interpreting the meaning. Okay, so I know that when I see something, I understand it. If I have any questions, that's where I do. If I have vocabulary questions, if I have context questions, and then I make it my own. Yeah. So I am understanding that this diagram is going to help me understand how we process information from a reading point of view, which is meaningful, which is going to give me something extra. People tend to stop here. Yes, I just read it and let's move on. For example, I recently had my twin nephews baptized and I was the godmother. And I remember that my mom, the grandma, used to read the thing that you read, and she was just reading it. And I was like, do you really believe that this is the best passage for a christening for two babies of 3 months old? So no one, I believe everyone was like, wah, 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 like the Charlie Brown type of teacher, wah, 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 wah. This is where we are most of the time. When you begin having this process, it's something that we strive to do for students. If you're a teacher, we strive to do as learners. I think that the teacher gave me this reading for a reason, not just for me to waste my time. And that's what we're trying to create. Then after interpreting the meaning, I do meta knowledge, I apply it, but that's like way too much. Okay, but this should be the reading process. Now I am going to show you through these mini curves, one, two, three, four, yeah, four sets of strategies. Like I said, they are not the only ones. There might be others. This is not the only way that you could be learning them, but this is this. So we have four. I am going to suggest that you choose a piece of reading that you need to understand so you can apply them to them. Maybe try four of them, and then you can evaluate which one is better for you, or which one is better for you for certain topics, and which one you could apply in different times. If you're a student, that could be helpful. For example, I don't know, try it yourself. That's why I named this a reading strategy workshop, so you can work on it. I am giving you this so you can work on it, right? And if you want to tell me in the comments, that would be awesome. I will not just feel here in the void talking about these things. I would love to hear from you. So core reading strategies, these are like the main ones. Okay, we are going to begin with predict and infer, which is, well, like it says, before you approach a topic, you have to inspect everything. Like, what is the color that is behind? If you have a picture, what's the picture coming from? What's the title? Does it make sense? Where is coming from? Where is the source? Are you having a source that it's a former source, or it's like andreitasblog.com? I don't know. Like, you have, from that you have to create your own opinion and talk about it, and like that. Then question everything. How is this coming from? Does this make sense? Do I have to go and recheck, and do lateral research so I know that this is happening, so I know that this is going on? I don't know. That could be awesome. Then monitor and clarify. Am I really understanding? Like, stop every paragraph or two and try to make connections between everything. Summarize, like, what did I learn? What was the main idea from this? And evaluate. At the end, was this helpful? Was it not helpful? Or maybe I do not believe anything that it comes from, but it's awesome because now I believe more in myself, whatever. Okay. So, and you can tell me, Andrea, but this is something that AI does for you. Yes, but they are doing it wrong. I mean, I love my Gemini. I love my ChatGPT. I love the no soulless, very helpful AI. I really love them, but I know that they are a tool that I love deeply. But my brain, it's something that I've been cultivating for 43 years this year. So I am going to go for it because it's something that I cultivated, that it's mine, that I created with my thoughts and my learning. So that's why it's awesome. So let's go. Co-reading strategies. Predict and infer. I have here a particular piece of reading that I want to share with you so I can model this for you. So why reading can be good for mental health. Okay, so let's see. We have these little books here, which make sense that are aligned with the topic. Where is this? MHFA England. Okay, so let's see. Because here I don't have like a lot of information. Crisis support, so they might be like some therapies or something. What else do we have? Eight mental. Ooh, I already love it because when something is divided into steps, I think that it's really beneficial. What else? What else? Self care is not selfish. Ah, that's nice. Okay, so here might we might have more information. England instructor training program. Okay, so they are training people. Okay, let's because we're doing predicting fair. Let's see what is the MFA center like. What are they doing here? Can we go? Yeah. Are you seeing my internet? I hope so. So yes, where can okay here transforming my whole self is becoming okay. So my whole self I am not super sure what they are doing, but let's look for MFA England. What do they do? Let's do MFA England. M M HFA England, what is it about? So we can know a little bit more about the source. We're a social enterprise, a company without shareholders. We offer guidance and training to support mental health. Okay, so I think that this reading is going to be fundamented in something nice. Okay, so let's go. This is my first impression on the reading, right? So predict and infer. What can I predict and infer from this? Corinne, I can say that this might be a piece of information that could be helpful because that's their expertise. Their expertise is not just like a BuzzFeed post in which they are giving you some tips. It's something a little bit more professional. If it's like it looks like it's a serious thing and they do other things, so this sounds like a blog that would help people align with their mental wellness. So that's why I like it. And I infer that it's going to be helpful because, like I said, they have steps. So I think that that's pretty good. Okay. Next one. Question. Let's question. We already questioned where this is coming from. What is it doing? Okay. Monitor and clarify. So let's go. If you have extra questions on the reading, you can go for it, right? Now, let's go. Why reading can be good for mental health. By the way, if you're asking, Andrea, why your screen is so big? Because I told you that I have visual issues. So don't stress. You do you. I'll do me. And yes, so this is hopefully going to be best. Okay. Now, there's something I have to tell you that not everyone knows. Maybe you already know, which makes you super awesome. But sometimes these things that are in cursive or that are slanted, they tend to be or uber important or just like an afterthought. But they are always important to read because they are part of the reading. Sometimes our brain bypasses it and they're like, see, yes, whatever, I understood. No, 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 no. You have to take time to do it, right? So let's go. Another thing that could be in monitor and clarify is identify the words that you do not understand appropriately, right? So, Sydney Timms, Timmins is a writer and a founder of Mental Health Book Club. Oh, how awesome! Podcast. Oh, there's a podcast. She's a mental ill health survivor after being diagnosed with a borderline personality disorder, anxiety, and depression, as well as fighting, relapsing, remitting multiple sclerosis. Oh my God. For National Book Lovers Day, here are her top 8 mental health benefits for reading. Okay, so I really love that they are not posting it by themselves. They have an expert on the topic, and this is the name Sydney. And she also has a podcast, so that also talks about that, her expertise, that she knows what she's talking about. And I love that they're talking about that this is a first-hand situation, so she's sharing her testimony and also talking about more research. Okay, so that's what we're doing. The founder from Mental Health Book Club podcast would be no surprise to anyone that I love books. Thin books, thick books, colorful books, picture books, ebooks, I do not discriminate. Today is the National Books Lover Day, an annual event celebrating reading and books. To celebrate, here are my top 8 mental health benefits for reading. Okay, so this introduction was nice and endearing. It's like she's talking to us, knowing that she loves to read, and there are many books that she really enjoys, which is this is awesome. And here we have like a little advertisement if you want to be part of the mental health training program, and maybe here we have information or whatever. Okay, so 8 mental health benefits for reading. Reading is pleasurable. When you start to read a really good book, it's often hard to put it down. The story captivates you and time disappears as you become absorbed. When you read the end, you feel sad because it's over, or you are so eager to get to the next book in the series, you are emailing the author daily. This is a magical feeling, and choosing to read a book can provide a number of other benefits. Okay, so do I have any questions with vocabulary? No, everything's cool. Do I understand this? Yes, I do also. As a personal thing, Andrea, I find reading is really pleasurable. Pleasurable. I cannot read as much as I would like to for my eyes, but I've been having audible things and it's super good. I devour things. I know that the last book that I read, it was Davis Grohl self-biography that is called The Storyteller, which is awesome, and I had the best time. So yes, I do relate with this. Reading is pleasurable. And I believe, like trying to go a little bit further, that since we're talking about how reading can impact your mental health, then pleasure is something that will promote feelings of happiness, joy, serenity, and so that way we are going to keep aligning with that. Maybe if you have, don't tell, I am not going to say do not take your medicines, just read a book. No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that this promotes these neurotransmitters that are pleasurable, so that's a nice thing too. Okay, next one. Reading can reduce stress. Losing yourself in a good book has been shown to reduce your stress levels. Research by David Lewis showed that reading as little as 6 minutes a day can reduce the stress levels by 60% by reducing your heart rate, easing muscle tension, and altering your state of mind. That same study showed that reading has was better at reducing stress than music, drinking a cup of tea, going for a walk, and playing video games. When I mentioned this to my tea obsessed co-host Becky Lawrence about reading being better than reducing stress than her tea, her reply made me laugh. She asked if she could have books and tea at the same time because maybe in combination they could beat all of the stress. Well, I guess it's something for her to experiment with. Okay, so I like that this is not like super serious, but I love that she's giving statistics, that she's talking about someone else's expertise, that she's referring to someone else, not only her friend, and there's like an endearing part of this paragraph, but also that the things that she's saying, it makes sense. It's like a coherent type of reading for me. But then again, you're going to tell me, Andrea, what is the goal of your reading? That is something which is also important. The goal of my reading for this is to show you how to exercise the strategies. But if my goal was doing some thesis research on whatever, then I will write down this dude, David Lewis, and I will go and cross reference. I will share her podcast and cross reference with that. I will look to that research because then my main goal changes. So it also has to do with what you're doing, right? So, do I have any questions with vocabulary? No. Do I understand everything? Yes. Can I say something about it that makes sense to me? Yes. I think that it reduces stress because also it's pleasurable. I do not believe that all the time it would like reduce your heart rate. Maybe the type of reading that you're doing. For example, I really love like psychological thrillers, and there's sometimes that you are super excited on it. So maybe no, not all the time, but I get the gist. I know what she's referring to, and just like taking a little moment for yourself, it's also a part of self-care. So if you set the mood and maybe you have like a cup of tea or coffee or maybe a little wine and you curl up in your book, and that also is going to help you reduce the stress. So yes, I believe that. Okay, let's go. Reading can provide an escape from the real world. Okay, closely linked to reducing stress levels when you read is the ability to escape from the world. I did this a lot as a child as a coping mechanism to deal with the emotional hurt I experienced from my family. I often become immersed in that world and help me to forget my worries. Research has shown that escapism is more complex than just reading for light-hearted entertainment, but it did show that people found the process transformative, changing the way people interact with the world and others. Awesome. Do I have any problem with vocabulary? No. Do I understand everything? Yes. Now let's do this. Okay, can provide escape from the real world. Anything that you do, and this is like my therapy side, anything that you do in order to avoid something that's escapism. You could, like runners. People then become runners and they are escaping from things. So it's not just about reading. But because I'm an artist, as you know, I do art therapy and whatnot. I've been searching for the meaning of creating art, and writing stories for me, it doesn't matter what type. Writing is hard. We are going to have a writing workshop too, but it's a type of art. I don't care if you're doing a research on your thesis or writing a child's book or doing a comic for you. Maybe you don't want to share it with anyone, but it's an art. And what I really love is what I've thought, that art or this type of reading are the portals to the quantum. If you're into that, I love that theory. If I am able with my art, my story, my engagement to help you imagine and visually connect, well, like in your third eye visualization, connect to another reality, that is super awesome. So, yes, it's kind of an escape, but it's also what do you learn when you're there? I have heard before, maybe it's here in the rest of the reading, but I have done reading for to create empathy, because then you are so immersed in the reading that you connect with someone else's situation in a different time, if in a different social structure. So they are that really makes you think, what would you do? How would you react? So I do not believe. I mean, I understand what she's talking about, but I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing if you are doing it to create compassion or to promote other things. Yeah. Okay. Let's go with the next one. Reading helps you develop empathy. Like I told you. Oh my god, my earring. I told you. Reading helps you develop empathy for others. People who read fiction have been shown to improve your level of empathy, the ability for you to understand someone else's beliefs, feelings, and thoughts, known as the theory of the mind. Research has shown that people exposed to fiction predicted the results of empathy tasks and even positively correlated with social support. But remember, correlation does not mean causation. For other research, for Further research into the impact of fiction or empathy showed that it was temporarily enhanced after reading fiction. Okay, do I have any question with vocabulary? No. Do I understand? Yes. Now, do I believe that it's only fiction? No. I read, like I was telling you, it comes to my mind the David Grohl autobiography. It's not fiction. He's telling what he lived. For example, I remember a particular passage in which He is a friend with Paul McCartney, which is mind blowing for him, as he explains in the book, and he's like super stoked about it. But I saw that there are some similarities. Paul McCartney and David Grohl, they both never learned music. They are like innate from hearing. That's how they create their sound and everything. And there are many other things that it's for me perfectly acceptable to understand why they like each other and what they are friends. And he says that one time Paul McCartney was in his house and he decided to grab David's World piano and he was doing some things that which was mind blowing for everyone. And he said that in a particular moment Davis Grohl's daughter took out a little cup of coffee from the pantry and he set it there and she began asking for money to hear Paul McCartney play. Is that a fiction? No, because he's saying that that happened. Is that something that I will never understand because I do not know Paul McCartney and I do not know David Grohl and I mean, come on, can I connect with that? Yes, the innocence of a girl, with a cheeky girl that is trying to do something and the epic proportions. I do believe that empathy can be exercised regarding if it's fiction, non-fiction, if it's like there's always something that you can get from a reading that will impact in the way that you understand human nature. So yes, okay. Okay, summarize. Let's go because you're like, yes, Andrea, that's very nice, but what are we doing? Remember the objective. We are doing the core reading strategies. We are predicting and inferring. We're questioning. We're monitoring and clarifying each of the ones of the points, right? Now, it's there 8 points. I want to summarize so far so I know what is going on. So 4 points in, it's perfectly moment to summarize. So what do we know so far? We know that reading could be helpful. The first strategy, and I am going to try to do it by memory because that means that I am totally engaged with what I'm doing. Oh, I am doing this live. I hope it works. So, the first thing that I remember, they were talking about how it's something that is pleasurable. So, pleasure, it's nice. So, that's the other one is that it helps you relax. And we were talking about the tea and whatnot. The third thing was the thing of escapism, which was I was not super fan, but I understood. And now we're talking about the empathy thing. Okay, yes, I made it. Okay, so those four make sense. So I am understanding where it's coming from. Now that's what the reading said. How can I summarize it? So far, it has been talking about different scenarios which you can take a lot from reading. It's not just about like sometimes I think about teachers like sending readings to the students and yeah, go for it, you know? But if you're really doing it in a mindful tone, like taking the time to connect, you could really, really, really get so much out of it. And we're only in step 4. Let's keep on going. Okay, so that was summarizing. Let's go. Reading. Reading works your brain and prevents memory loss. Participating in cognitive activities such as reading over your lifetime, both early and later in life, has shown to slow down memory loss when compared to those who didn't participate in mentally stimulating activities. The same study also found that the rate of mental decline was reduced by 32% when people participate in reading, writing, and other activities later in life, while those with infrequent stimulating activities found that their decline was 88% faster than those with average activity. Okay, yes. Do I have any question? No. Do I understand? Yes. Yes, but let me tell you, why does it work and it's only reading? No, anything that it's promoting new neuron pathways is going to be awesome for your brain. Because for example, if you learn, I really want to learn to play the ukulele. I have never played anything, but I really want to play the ukulele. So when I begin playing, because it's some my brain is going to uh, have the pliability or the flexibility to begin creating new connections, and that is going to be healthy for my brain. If you want to learn another language, and reading, of course, it's challenging and it's special. And if you do it in a more thoughtful way, not just passively doing, of course, it's going to create great benefits from you. Okay, so yes, but it's not only reading. Okay, let's go to the next one. Reading groups help to treat mental health issues. Yeah, my default for when I'm feeling low is to read about um is to read, but there is actually scientific research that shows that reading and then talking about what you have read could be beneficial to mental health and well-being. There is something called by bibliotherapy that is the profound effect on people suffering with depression. Liverpool Health requires research Inequalities, Research Institute examined a two-weekly reading group program for people diagnosed with depression over a 12-month period and reported a significant improvement to mental health. Participants reported improving concentration, better emotional understanding, increased self-awareness, and the ability to discuss meaningful issues related to self and being. Okay. Do I have any questions? No. Do I understand? Yes. Now, reading groups uh, help to treat mental health issues. I believe that the most important part of, I mean, yes, from this, but I believe that the most important part is the inner process, because you are reading into yourself and you have to make these strategies in a more natural way, so you can go and share something with someone else, and then connecting over a book create relationships. And we know that relationships and sharing good times and exercising these type of things, obviously it's going to impact in your wellness. So yes, this makes total sense. Okay. Reading oh no reading helps teenagers develop insights into being an adult. Becoming an adult can be tricky. A lot of things change during this time, and exploring an identity is crucial. Research has shown that reading for pleasure teenagers has three key benefits. Reading has shown to enhance academic performance, social engagement, and personal development. Fiction help teens by providing significant insights into mature relationships, personal values, and cultural identity, all of which are important into the transition of being a child to becoming an adult. Yes. Okay. So, do I have any questions? Do I understand? Yes, it is. Okay. So, reading helps teenagers develop insight into being an adult. Yes, because the type of reading that you are doing is going to have a particular set of beliefs, values, and whatnot. And it doesn't matter if it's fiction, if it's reality, if it's history that you're reading, it doesn't matter, because you are being empathic. You are trying to understand how people behave or how people model their world, and then you're going to make an insight. And do I believe in this? Do I think that this is viable? So yes, I agree with that. Reading can make you smarter. I often feel smarter after reading books. I learn new things, experience different cultures, understand myself better, and research has shown that reading does in fact make us smarter. Cognitive differences have been seen between those who read a lot and those who read a little. People who are exposed to more written information are associated with higher vocabulary, general knowledge, and verbal skills. We believe that mental health is important to everyone in society. We believe it's okay not to be okay. We believe that books and media have profound impact about how we see the world. Self care is not selfish, it's foundational. Self care is the first step to mental health first aid, reminding us that we cannot pour from an empty cup. When we slow down, listen to our needs, and protect our well being, we strengthen our capability to hold space for others. Oh, that was very nice. That was the thing that I really love the most. Okay, so we finished reading our story. Well, our article in this case. We did predict and fair questions, monitor, clarify. We summarize. Okay, let's do an evaluation. According to my reading goals, which was to show you this, how do I feel about this piece? Well, I chose the topic because I do believe reading is awesome. I do believe I am doing a reading workshop, so that's why I thought that this was going to be a nice one. I began reading it with you. I just Googled it and I said, yes, it's going to be an amazing piece for my class, but I really enjoyed it. I really like that it has like eight different things. I think that you could do a lot of things with it. I think that it could go further for research. If you're very into that, you can go and look for the other researchers. I have an issue. Yes, everything that is in bold has links, so you can go there. Here, guide your stress levels. So they have links, which I love here. So if my goal was to do like a preliminary, like having this article to be a preliminary point for doing some like a bigger piece, I would really appreciate this. I also learned about the mine in England. I didn't know that, and I align with most of the things that they're saying. So yes, I really enjoy it, and I believe that I learned something now that I didn't. Was it hard? I feel that if you go step by step, is not hard because my mind was okay. I am going to assess this reading based on the core reading strategy. If you just want to read it because you want to read it and you want to get it done, then yes, it's going to be very hard because you have to stop, retrace, and relearn. Okay. So my suggestion is if you're going to do this strategy, just take your time. Know that how you're going to approach this reading in a very curious type of way, in which you are going to think about all of the things that you can enjoy from this reading, and maybe then share it with someone else. You can share with your students. You can, if you're a student, you can share with other friends. Like there's lots of things that you could do. So yes, I really enjoyed this reading. Ta-da! Great job on this reading. Let's go to another reading strategy that I prepared here for you. So here we did core reading strategies, great reading strategy. Now, active reading strategies. Okay, this is something that you could do in a more, if your goal could be to learn about something. For example, it's taking notes, and there are many different ways of taking notes. I might eventually do a video on that if you really want it. But there are so many, and there are some that I really don't like. So, but I would have to explain. But if you like it, I can do it. No, there are many ways of taking notes. Then we have forecasting, which is like kind of predict and infer what can you learn from this or what are the follow-ups on this. Connecting to prior knowledge and thinking out loud. Now, based on the reading that we just have, we could totally do this. For example, what I would do is I would do the mind map situation. Now, remember that mind mapping it's a methodology that only evaluates five things. A mind map should have a middle topic, like a topic in the middle, and then they should have connectors, which are lines that connect the information, that everything must stem from the main topic. Then it has colors that should happen always. They have colors, they have images, and they have keywords. Sometimes I can let you have a simple sentence, you know? So, for example, what I would do is I would put reading impacts on mental health in the middle, and then the name of the girl that I was writing it and the podcast. That would be my first one, and I would do it in a circle. Then I would create my connector and write each of the eight steps and just writing the main idea, like the title of the each step, and maybe having an image there because I really love. There's another thing that I really like to do that it's called doodle note taking. So when you're scribbling and you're creating these doodles or these little drawings, it's easier for you to know, no, and maybe one color per each. That would be how I will take notes from this. The forecasting would be what are some follow up things that I could do. So number one, I would say, for example, what questions come from the reading that we have done? The one forecast could be, what am I going to do a follow up on the research that she showed? Am I going to hear her podcast? Maybe, for example, questions: what are the best type of books to read to improve mental health? Maybe there's a list. I remember that once upon a time, the Time magazine came out with the top the year movies that promote um, mental health or something like that, or emotions or something. So I know that that could be connecting with prior knowledge. Look, look. I know that Time Magazine once upon a time took out a list of movies that are going to be very good for promoting mental health. So maybe I would like to know if they have a particular list of books that could be helpful to promote, or books that are going to be best, or for example, maybe a particular genre of books, maybe fiction. She's talking a lot about fiction, so maybe I would go, what are the top five new fiction books that are out there, so I can maybe do an update on the books that I really like, because I love Anna Karenina, but that's a really old book. So how can I do this better? And then thinking out loud, which I am doing with you, but maybe you can do it with a friend. You can talk about, okay, so listen, I heard about this, because also socializing your knowledge, it's awesome. It's going to give you the ability of understanding. So maybe, for example, if you're reading something very particular for a very niche thing, because you're studying or because you're a particular teacher, you want to socialize this with your partner, with your children, with someone outside the academic world, and maybe share it with, like, mom, today I learned this, or hey, boyfriend, girlfriend, I heard about that. And maybe also that is going to impact in having more meaningful conversations. So that active reading strategy, as you can see, could be like I am explaining, super easy, because we already have a reading, so we can really apply it. But it's something that you have to do for yourself. Like I said, remember that this video is a little bit of a workshop. So I would really, really enjoy if you could do something and maybe take a picture and share it to me. Remember that my social media is going to be underneath this, and if you're my student, you know what activity you're going to be doing with this video. But yes, sometimes when you approach a reading and you're trying to do an active reading thing, is going to be better. I really love doing this with my students' life, so we can all remap out what we are supposed to be learning. I don't believe in giving students like 50 pages to read and then make a summary. That's annoying, and it's like taking a bullet in the shoe by myself. Like, why would I do that to me, to read 30 essays of the same thing, in which they can copy paste, they can go and ask ChatGPT? Maybe we can do it together. Maybe if I believe that this reading is super important, that's what I am going to share with them, right? So active reading is something that you could do in a collaborative way. For example, maybe you could do it with your friends if you're having a learning study group. Maybe each of your friends is going to read one chapter. They are going to create like a visual thing, and at the end you're going to all explain that to everyone else. That could be the thinking out loud. That could be, okay, I learned this and this comes from this, and then you can all learn from that. So I believe that this is a simple, more collaborative strategy, but you could do it by yourself. Let's go to the next one. Okay. Speed or purpose technique, which is skimming, getting the main idea, scanning, looking for specific detail, and the structure. Main idea, supporting detail, word for context, author's purpose. This is eight supposed to be bracket. So persuading for no entertain. Okay, for this I brought a different reading. Well, I didn't bring it. I just opened something online and I thought, it sounds good. So let's go and do that. Okay, where is it? Is it this? Yes. Okay, here we have another one. This is another healthcare, Baylor College of Medicine. We already know where the source is. And here we have a book, Mindful Reading and Mental Health. Okay, so here we have it. Okay, for this strategy, the first thing that we have to do is skimming. Okay, Let me explain a little bit about what's the difference between skimming and scanning. Okay, scanning is the visual ability to go from top to bottom looking for something. In this case, it could be keywords, it could be vocabulary words, it could be words in bold, whatever it is, but scanning is up and down, right? Now, skimming is trying to get like it goes from one place to another. So that's why it's called skim and scan because technically you are doing the same process together. So let's try to do that with this new reading. Okay. So here, for example, I can see my eyes go to here. So it's 24, so it's not that old, which is awesome. Then reading provides benefits, some studies even, older adults, Baylor College. Then again, reading is a quiet pursuit. Okay. It feels wrong and people feel quality engaging reading. Okay. Mental health purposes, cultivating a quiet space, a regulation combining when we read, mindful reading is focused. Mindful reading requires more structure. We can think of mindful reading in a way we think of mindful reading. Mindful reading requires practice, non judgmental attitude. Start with smaller passages, your thoughts of the time, because we haven't built a space for it. Everyone's schedules and normal life circumstances are different. Those who are new to mindful reading on a phone or tablet is not always conductive. Okay, so I did the first pass on this reading using skim and scan. Okay, how do I feel about this reading in regards to the other one? I feel that this reading is not going to be as fun. Why? Because the other one, remember that she talked a little bit about the tea, she talked a little bit about having books thin and thin. This looks a little bit more serious, which is not necessarily negative, but it's a statement. I don't think this is going to be a fun piece of reading. Well, as the other one. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I think that this is something that I really need to get there to have the best points because on the other one they have the 8 steps, so it was easier for me to get what I wanted to do. Oh my god, my earring. So it was easier for me to know this is happening. This is something that I will have to get from context, which then again is not bad. It's just an observation that I'm doing. Another thing that I see is that at the beginning, like maybe the first 3, 4 paragraphs, it didn't give me lots of information, but then I began hearing more information for me that it was interesting. No, another thing that I think about this is that if you are not familiar with the mindful word or methodology, maybe this could be challenging for you. So I don't know. Let's check it out. Okay. So that was skim and scan. Like you saw, I was coming down and maybe trying to get the words that were popping into my eyes in order to have a particular idea of what was going on. No, now let's get main ideas, supporting details, and work from context. Okay. What are we going to do? Let's begin reading and let's try to do this. Okay. Maybe water. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. So okay, let's begin. Reading provides benefits throughout all stages of life. Increasing knowledge solidifies previously learned information and benefits children with their development. Learning, socialization, and imagination. Some studies even suggest that older adults who read frequently tend to fare better when it comes to cognitive outcomes, such as potentially helping lower the risk of dementia and other cognitive disorders. A Baylor College of Medicine neuropsychologist explains how reading promotes positive mental health outcomes. Okay. Now, do I have any questions? I know that I am using the other one, but words from context. Is this something that could be challenging? Maybe cognitive disorders could be challenging for people that are not familiar with the wording, right, or dementia. So I would suggest that you understand that you look for it. But for example, here it's saying that they're talking about positive cognitive outcomes and cognitive disorders. So maybe I need to know or I need to understand what is cognition. But if we're talking about mental health, so that leads me to understand, in the case that I did not understand from the context, I understand that cognition has to do with mental process, right? Okay, now, what is the main idea here? Most people, they tend to look the main idea on the first sentence. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. At the end of this reading, what is getting you the at the end? That reading can help your brain and your cognitive process. That is the main idea. What are the supporting details? Reading provides benefits throughout all the stages of life. Here we have the benefits, socialization. So everything else is supporting that main idea. Okay, let's go. Reading is a quiet pursuit that can be more adapting coping mechanism, a strategy than some other hobbies we engage in, said Dr. Samantha Henry, assistant professor of neurology at Baylor. As kids, reading is thought to be more of a leisure activity we can engage in as a form of recreation, and it is encouraged. As adults, it is a pursuit that is often seen as a form of escapism. It feels wrong, and people feel guilty engaging in it, engaging in reading because they think about all the other things they have to do. Okay, so what is the main idea? The main idea for me is that there's a difference between when you're a child, it's fun reading, and supposedly for adults, it's like a guilty pleasure, right? Do I personally believe that? Maybe. I mean, it's not a guilty pleasure for me because I believe that it promotes health and whatnot. But okay, no. In this methodology, we are not right now giving our point of view. This methodology is just to have a particular understanding of what we're reading. Okay? Now, let's get another one. Many people engage in reading for mental health purposes, whether they are aware of it or not. Reading helps to reduce stress and anxiety and takes your mind away from other things happening in your environment. Cultivating a quiet space to focus and be present in the moment promotes mindfulness. Reading and mindfulness can overlap in terms of emotional regulation, stress, and the benefits of the brain. Combining reading to mindfulness allows you to engage mindful meditation while incorporating reading, which, but okay, no, I messed it up. I'm sorry, my dyslexia. Combining reading and mindfulness allows you to engage in mindful meditation while incorporating reading, which requires you to read in a different way. Combining reading and mindfulness allows you to engage in mindful meditation while incorporating reading. Okay. Yes, my problem was the comma. I'm sorry. Mhm. So, okay, yeah. When we read, when we read, the main goal typically is focused for completing a book or an article in a certain amount of time to acquire knowledge. Mindful reading is focused on the act of reading itself, not necessarily destination or goal other than to be aware of and attend to what you're reading in that moment and being fully present. Okay. Do I have any questions with this? If in this case, if you really do not know what mindfulness is, you're going to have a hard time because it do not explains at all what it's mindfulness or mindful. So in this case, I will jump in and understanding. Well, we're going to do that in the next one. But yes, this is something that you need to know because it's not understanding from context what it's mindful. It looks like, and maybe because then again, I understand what mindful is, but if you don't, you can do it a simple strategy. Mind means your brain, or it's something that is a process here. And we talked about cognitive things there. So mindful maybe had to do with that. But here it says meditation. So maybe that could give you a hint. If you don't know what mindful is, it's a methodology in which you are fully present to the activity of what you're doing. It is very against multitasking, and it understands there are some times in which you have to have like a more um, mindless type of activities in which you are not super focused on doing things, but there are others that require your full attention. That basically in bigger term that's mindfulness. So that would be from context. Now, what is the main idea? The main idea is that mindfulness is going to, if you add it to reading, it's going to give you a better sense of wellness, and it's going to help you to slow down and really focus on what you're doing, right? And there they have all the other details. Okay, let's go. Mindful reading requires more structure. Henry commends starting with mindful reading, which helps cultivate and develop skills for mindful reading. Mindful reading is an advanced step that people benefit from after trying mindful meditation. Typically, from the form of breathing, we can think of mindful breathing in the way we can think of mindful reading in the way we think of mindful breathing, which is just focusing on your breath. Normally, when we breathe, we do not think about it because it's automatic. Traditional reading can be that way too, to get to the destination of finishing a book. Try to slow down and be aware of the process actually involving reading. Okay. Yes, so I don't have any questions with the vocabulary. That's perfect. So what it's saying is that sometimes you do automatic purpose of just breathing or reading. And what she's talking about is just take your time and give your full attention to reading as you would do when you're doing mindful reading. Okay, mindful reading requires practice since it removes the element of passive reading, skimming, and multitasking while trying to read. The goal is to focus on adding extra layers of consciousness to your reading. Try to slow down with the intention to understand what you're reading and how you're reading. Remove all external distractions and incorporate a non-judgmental attitude to engage in a deeper, meaningful understanding of what you read. Okay? Here we are, the main idea is to understand how to slow down and the importance of just taking out the distractions so you can focus on what you're doing. Okay? Start with smaller passages instead of a whole book to really attend and be able to be aware of what you're reading. Eventually, work your way up to bringing your thoughts and intention back to the present. Henry stresses the importance of building a habit of reading. Okay, so this is the supporting thing. Our thoughts drift all the time, and mindfulness practice help redirect them back to the present moment in trying to savor what's happening for both mindful reading and leisure reading. One of the important elements is setting aside time. It's far too easy to forget to do these things because we haven't built out the space for it. So just try to incorporate it into your schedule. Start with small steps so it can be achievable and accessible. So in this case, it's like because we know that it's something that we do not know do regularly, to have an appointed time to focus all your attention in reading is the best way to go. Okay. Everyone's schedules, life circumstances, everyone's schedules and life circumstances are different. So incorporating reading into your daily routine might not be feasible. If you only have 15 minutes in a day or a week to engage in reading, it can still be beneficial as long as it becomes a habit. You do not you do not need to read a certain time of a day or a certain number of sessions per week, but it can be important to carve out time to do so. So the main idea is like at 15 minutes a day in 1 week. That could be very good as long as you're consistent. Those who are new to mindful reading should pay attention to the book, with such as the pages what the pages look, smell, and feel like, as well as focusing into the individual words. Okay, the main idea in this case is in the top. Those who are new to mindful reading should pay attention to the book. Okay. Eliminating distractions. Eliminating distractions is crucial for leisure and mindful reading. Reading on a phone or tablet is not always conducive to this because there are constantly barraged with notifications that appear in our screens. So mute notifications for a period or to filter out distractions. Listening to audiobooks is inherently different from reading, and people tend to multitask while listening to audiobooks, like driving or cooking. Holding a book or tablet requires you to invest your energy in that pursuit, while listening to an audiobook can pull away your attention and lends to more distractibility. So in this case, I do not know these words. Barrage. Okay, so I can break it into the past tense. So it's a verb of some sorts. Even though I do not know this word, I can understand that from the context. Reading on a phone or tablet is not always conducive to this because we're constantly barraged with notifications. We're constantly annoyed, we're constantly interrupted, we're constantly like in my it might be something like that. So I do not know this word, but I understand from the context. Now in this case she's like, we really need to focus on what we're doing, and maybe on the phone you can have distractions, and audiobooks are not good for her because you're multitasking. Okay, so that's the end. Now let's check how we are. In this case, as I told you, we are not doing the the clarification, summarization, and evaluation, or the thinking out loud. This process is like, this is what I'm going to be reading, no? I particularly love to talk about and understand and everything, but this is another strategy. Now, the only one that we're missing is author's purpose. So, what is she doing? Is she entertaining us, informing us, or persuading us? I believe that she is persuading us, okay? Because she really wants us to try to do mindful reading. She is explaining about all the things that they could be beneficial, and she's also talking about how to do it, how not to do it, and what is this about, okay? So in this case, I have a better understanding of how she thinks that mindful reading and mental health are connected, and why mindful reading could be a nice option, okay? So, like I said, in this case, this methodology does not need my point of view. They don't care for this methodology, but I will give you my thoughts because yes. So I believe that mindful reading, everything that you do mindfully and that you do it because you want to slow down, I believe that it's the best way. I took a mindful course from the Monash University, and it was called Mindfulness for Optimal Development, which I really love, because it's not just about meditation and whatnot, but what can you do in your life to like really improve on that. So I believe that anything that you do with mindfulness is something that is going to impact you, because you're going to take the time to really cultivate what you're doing. And the way, if you are here, you are doing mindful reading with me, because we're taking the time to really grab a piece and make it our own, and then have our points of view and understanding what we're talking about. So I believe that I am completely aligned with that, with the topic. Now let me tell you about the other one, because I feel that we can model it. Fix up strategies. As you can see, I had extra problems reading this piece than reading the other one. Maybe it was the vocabulary, maybe it was not as easy spotted to do. I had some problems rereading things and everything. So this is a particular way, and I didn't mend it. I promise that I just took it out. But it's amazing for me, so I can do the fix up strategy. Most of the times you saw me rereading, please, that make no sense, and I was like, what was I reading? And then I reread it until it made sense. So that's perfectly normal. You can totally do it. Reading aloud, it's also very good, better than reading in your mind, because when you're reading aloud, you're hearing, one, if you're pronouncing appropriately, if it makes sense, if it's the, like, you're doing the pacing right and everything. So it's very good, and you can hear yourself, so it's awesome. looking up words that are beyond my comprehension. Let's do that. And we have the dictionary of the thesaurus, okay? Let me explain the difference between those two. First, what was the word that I didn't know? It was the barrange, right? Here it is. Okay, so we can go to the thesaurus. What is the thesaurus? And dictionary.com. It's thesaurus.com and dictionary.com. Okay, I really love this. Am I doing this? Yes, you're here. Okay, so what are these things that I really love? The thesaurus, the difference between a thesaurus and a dictionary is the dictionary is going to give you a definition, and the thesaurus is going to give you a synonym or an antonym. What is a synonym? If you forgot, is a word that could be used in the same sentence, and an antonym it could be a word that means the opposite. So a synonym means the same, and an antonym is different. For example, there are some synonyms that are not particularly the same. For example, beautiful. What could be beautiful? Gorgeous. It could be something nice, something pretty. Yes, those are synonyms. Can I say it was ravishing? Yes, but it's more than beautiful. So it could be a synonym, but it's so far away, right? And the same thing happens with antonyms. So let's put before the word search. Barrage. By the way, let me add some sound here because this is very helpful. You can actually know how it's pronounced. So let's
barrage, or
barrage.
barrage.
Barrage. So it has two different pronunciations. So barrage or barrage. I would do barrage. I think that it's nice. So the noun weapon fire. What? So it's a blast, bombardment, fusil, gunfire, hail. Okay, so let's apply it to the reading. Okay, so you are bombarded with notifications. That is what it means. Bombarded? Yes, bombarded. So it's like they are notifications that are coming super awesome to you. Okay, I understand that. Barrage, bombarded. Now, I love this thesaurus because it tells you what are the closest synonyms or the words that really match the most, which are have a strong meaning and which one have a weak Curtain of fire, yes, but it does not apply. So that's how you can use the thesaurus to make sense of what you were talking about. And then you can use the look, faux pas is, I really enjoy this website. The word of the day is faux pas, even though it's in French, they're going to explain you what is it about so you can watch the recording. Another synonyms for profusion of something or antonyms, defense. Okay, it's a very weak one. Why, Andrea, you did not use the definition, the dictionary to know what is barrage? Because I don't want a definition. I want to understand. And there's more possibility for me to understanding if I have different words because that is going to impact on my vocabulary. If I really look for a definition, it's going to be like simple to the point. What is it? Barrage. Military, a heavy barrier or artillery fire to protect. With this definition, I will not get what I was reading, and I would say like it makes no sense. But when I saw more in mycology and aversion response to sexuality incompatible fungus cultures, imagine that. That is making zero sense according to the context of what I was reading. That's why I really enjoy doing the thesaurus because it's going to really help me have a better understanding of what I am going to be reading about. So, yes, that is all the strategies that I have for you for today. And like we already saw, there are many. In this case, I am showing you four. My suggestion would be if you're my student, I will give you instruction for that. But if you're just watching this video randomly on YouTube, try one. Try one for one thing. Not all the strategies are going to be working the same for you. For example, the strategy that we use for the more formal type of reading did not have the possibility to connect and clarify and check my previous knowledge. It was just read, 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 which was good if you that's what you want. What is the goal of your reading? I believe that socializing your knowledge is also going to make you learn more. So I always like to talk about it and what did I learn and everything. So my suggestion would be try it. Try each of that for you, and I hope that it's going to make you feel a little bit better about your studying, about your teaching, about your learning, about yourself. And I feel that I am a philosopher. I love learning. I love knowledge. And these reading strategies is super amazing. So I hope that they're working for you. And because this is a well being type of project, remember, like when I say it in Spanish, every time that you work on yourself, you're impacting in the well being of others. Thanks so much for being here. And I hope that you really enjoyed it. Bye.